Right then, welcome. Thank you for attending our webinar. We'll be talking about how to achieve complete, approved, and consistent packaging copy. I'm Shobna. I am the content developer here, and I work with Avinash in marketing. And I build awareness and help companies understand how they can optimize their packaging artwork approval processes. I'd also like you to welcome Avinash, your host for the evening, my boss and the director of product marketing at Manage Artworks. Avinash has been closely working with industry professionals in the packaging artwork domain. And therefore, he has an exhaustive knowledge on the challenges companies face on releasing their artworks and launching their products. Let me quickly introduce the topics that we'll be touching on. We'll be talking about the journey that your copy takes. Where does it originate? Where does it come from? And where does it eventually land up? How exactly do you manage your packaging content today? We'll also be exploring if there's a better way to manage your packaging content. And we'll be briefly looking into a case study where we helped a $71 billion company manage their packed copy. Let me also briefly take a moment to introduce ourselves. We are Manage Artworks. We provide packaging artwork management solutions. We've been in this business for more than a decade now, and we are supporting over 4,000 brands globally every day in optimizing their artwork management processes. The numbers, ladies and gentlemen, that you view in front of your screen speak for themselves. We are passionately focused on helping companies across food, pharma, retail, and cosmetics in number one, launching their products faster. And in this case, we have collectively helped saved over 1,000 years in artwork approval time for our clients. And number two, help companies achieve 100% regulatory compliance. We are an ISO 9001:2015 certified company, and we've got our offices in US and France, along with our operations in India. So I'll hand the screen over to Avinash now. Avinash, can you take over?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you make you the...
Yeah.
Let me know if you can access it.
One moment. Yeah, it does load up. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen? Shobha, is my screen visible?
Yes, Avinash, we can see your screen.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you so much for that introduction, Shobha. So before I get into the presentation, I think I just wanted to run a few slides around one of the first items that Shobha has mentioned on the agenda today. How is your copy managed today, and where does it come from? Where does it go? And what's wrong with it altogether? I think to begin with, most organizations around the world, even some of the largest companies, use Word or Excel to manage their packaging copy. That means that there's no way to know if you've got the right content. Is it approved? Where is it lying? Who has the latest version of the file? I think it brings along with it a ton of complexities in itself. There are organizations that use some sort of PIM or PLM systems today. You've got some of your product information stored there. Again, what you have in your PIM systems about the product is exactly not the whole thing that goes onto the artwork. There is a lot more that comes in. So again, they don't have the depth to cover everything that you need to essentially have your pack copy in one place. At the same time, today everybody sells online, right? So you've got syndicators like One World Sync, Syndigo, and these aggregators have access to most of your product information. Again, it's not all about what goes onto the artwork. There are marketing claims. There's a ton of other material there, but even that cannot act as your one source of truth when it comes to what's there or how you manage it today. Now, what's wrong with the current way? Like I briefly touched upon in the previous slide, but there are three major problems with the approach that the industry has today. One is your pack copy is incomplete. In most cases, you have a first version of the brief that's created. It's sent out to the designer. The artwork starts getting created, and when it goes to the approval, somebody jumps in and says that, hey, this information is not accurate. We've got to update this, and then it goes back, for revisions, and there are updates from a content standpoint towards the very end when you're getting ready to create an artwork. So you do realize most of the time that I really don't have all of my copy ready in one place before I start creating my packaging artwork. Again, in almost every other scenario, we realize that the content that's there is unapproved. I'll present a couple of statistics that we came about when we did our previous industry research to understand how content management is in this space. And the fact that there is no real content approval system, we realize that most of the time nobody is absolutely sure if the content that is there is actually approved or not. Are we putting the right information there? Again, when you get into the process of artwork creation is when most organizations realize that, oh, you know what, I don't know if this is the approved content. So they go back to the quality, the regulatory, and everybody tries to figure out, where is this content and who has approved it the last time. And I think the most important problem is inconsistency. One of the things that happens when you have a ton of products, right? So you have 3 or 4 different product lines, and then you have multiple products under each product line. So let's just say you have a 10-ounce SKU, and tomorrow you've decided that, hey, my market research shows that a 20-ounce pack will sell well. But then the fact that you do not have an organized way to manage your content, more often than not, you're trying to find out, what is the content that I've used on the 10-ounce pack? Can I reuse some of that content? If it's in a different language, then it becomes an even bigger problem. So when you give it to translators, then the same content that you give them, the translation comes a little differently every time you do this. And there is no way to know if all of you have the same content in one place. So will my 10-ounce SKU, my 20-ounce SKU, or any other SKU that's connected to the same product, same flavor, have the same information? That becomes questionable without the help of a content management system. Now, as we go along, like I said, a couple of alarming statistics that we came across when we did our most recent survey is that 58% of artwork iterations are caused by packaging copy errors, right? And you realize more often than not, you think that, hey, I'm going to go and buy an artwork management system, and it has to fix all of my artwork problems, right? Will I get my artwork right first time if I have an artwork management system? Unfortunately not. And the reason for that is because the problem lies with content. And that's what we see when we've done this study. At the same time, this is an interesting number again. We've noticed that 87% of the time, the organizations aren't sure if the content that goes onto the artwork is accurate or if it's approved. The same problem that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. So it's really hard to find out if you have the right copy, if it's the approved copy, and if it's being used consistently across all of your packaging artworks. With that said, I think we've done 2 of these webinars on packaging copy, and I don't want this session to look like we're talking about what copy management system can do. Instead, today, there are more than 100 brands that use our copy management system around the world. And what I'll do is I'll talk about some of the questions that these brands had based on their real life business scenarios as they evaluated the fitment of a content management system as such for their business. So with that, I think I'll pass it on to Shobna to kind of ask me a few questions around what these brands have done, and I'll do my best to cover and answer those as I go along with this presentation.
Right. Thanks, Avinash. Based on our previous interactions with people who have attended this webinar, one of the most common questions that they've asked is they wanted to know what exactly is a copy manager, and what's really wrong with continuing to use Excel sheets or Words or other doc files?
Absolutely. Before I get to the answer, is my screen visible? There should be a copy system. Okay, perfect. All right. So it's a very good question. I think that's the question most companies ask, because I don't think we've got people who have absolutely consolidated and mature copy management systems that they've built or they're using currently. Most of the people out there are using Word files or Excel files, and the common perception is that, hey, at the end of the day, it's my content, right? It's the same content. I have it in this file. Why should I buy a system, put it in the system? So the answer is, I think, multifold. One is, this is, I think, a way more organized way of doing things. I'll show you a couple of screens which will kind of give you an idea around how different managing content can be with a copy management system. So to begin with, what you see on the screen is how a typical copy scenario will look like for an organization. What you see here, so I'll be using two words or two terms as I go through this webinar. Term one is copy sheet. A copy sheet is nothing but an assortment of copy elements, and copy element essentially is nothing but each individual piece of text that you have on your individual SKU. So that goes on the artwork essentially. So for example, just to take an example, your nutrition panel, your ingredients, your warning statements, your net weight, these could be copy elements, and an assortment that is a combination of all of this could be your copy sheet. So what you're seeing here in front of your screen is how typical copy sheets look like. As a general practice, we suggest that you create an individual copy sheet per SKU so that it's easier for you to manage your copy journey. And as you go along, you'll see that we have the summary screen that will show you that, hey, what is the name of the copy sheet, which is nothing but the SKU name. There is a ton of metadata that you fill in, which will help you search and retrieve what text you're looking at. So you'll know which project it belongs to, what's the brand, which sub-brand does it belong to, what's the status of this copy sheet, right? So you've initiated this copy sheet. Is it completed? Are all the elements under this copy sheet approved? Are some of them in progress? Who's initiated it? When has this person initiated? I think all of this information is available for you to see in the copy management system. I'm just going to click on this and show you the next screen. So if you pick any copy sheet, this is how the individual copy elements will look like an assortment under that copy sheet. So for example, your brand name, your product name, your allergen declarations, your ingredients, all of these make up the different copy elements that form and create a copy sheet. Now, you will see here on your screen something that says a version. This tells you, if number one, is this particular element approved on version 1? Or are we at a second or a third iteration of that particular element? And where is it? Is it actually approved? Your fourth column that says status tells you if this particular element is approved. Is this still submitted? Did somebody reject it? If yes, why did they reject it? At the same time, you'll also know who this particular element is pending with. So one of the important things is, when you manage your copy in an Excel, there is no way for you to manage content at an element level. So here, if you look at a very structured copy management system such as ours, you can have a separate workflow for each copy element. So you see here that under this one copy sheet, which is for frosted yellow cake, so under this one SKU, if there are 10 different copy elements, you see that some of them are approved, some of them are yet to be approved. There is a way for you to select an editor, an approver. So we treat each element in itself with a separate workflow. So you're absolutely sure by the end of it what your status is for each of these elements and how they play well together. So there is no way an Excel or a Word document can give you this level of visibility into how your content goes onto your packaging file. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why you cannot continue using Word or an Excel to be efficient with your copy management.
Absolutely. There's also another question following this. We had one of our prospective clients asking that packaging briefs aren't really just about text, are they? I mean, he wanted to understand how exactly would he be able to convey the instructions to his designer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it's a very good question. So more often than not, you would believe that, hey, I have all of my content put in an Excel or a Word file, and I'm going to give this to the designer, and the designer will just create this magical artwork and give it back to me, right? And it's got to be accurate. Doesn't work that way. So more often than not, if you have a very seasoned designer who exactly knows how an artwork has to be designed, what sizes does he need to use, does he have all of his other assets like logos and everything else in one place, if he has the right die line, So it's like the coming together of stars, right? Everything falls in one place, and maybe you'll get your artwork right first time. But then more often than not, you've got to communicate instructions that go along with each of these elements. So if you look at the, if you look at my screen right here, I've just clicked on, just to give you an idea on ingredients. What you're looking at is a set of ingredients that are there that go into this frosted yellow cake. Now, when we manage copy sheets here, and when we help you enter copy elements, you will see that you have the ability to not just enter the text that goes onto that particular element. Now, for example, ingredients, there is a ton of text, right? So is this all the space that I have? No, we actually have a nice detailed text editor that you see here, where you can just go around, you can see, you can actually type in. This gives you all the same formatting options like a typical Word document does, so you can enter all of your text. At the same time, you also have the option to give instructions to your designer right here. So you can write, okay, you know what, for this particular element, the font size must be 8 points. So you can mention that here. And when this copy sheet finally moves on to the designer, if you have our Adobe plugin, he would be able to directly pull in this data. He has the instructions in front of him, and he can just edit it and make sure that he gets that right. At the same time, you will see on my screen that we have what's called history as well. So we are, we are a 21 CFR 11 compliant software built essentially keeping pharma and CPG in mind. So every keystroke essentially is tracked. So, whatever workflow that this particular element goes through, right? If somebody has approved, somebody has edited, rejected, made changes, all of the data is available for you to see. Now, at the same time, you also have, it's a collaborative system at the end of the day. We want people to contribute and say that, hey, give suggestions, make some changes, all of that stuff. You can also add comments right here. Now, why should you have a comment when you already have entered the data in the info tab? The simple example is, for example, sometimes you might not be the one, or you might not be the user who's actually responsible for creating or approving that particular copy element. But then you might need to, you might know that, hey, this particular element has to be done this way. You might have a suggestion. In that scenario, you can give a comment, although you can't edit the file, but the people who are responsible for getting that copy element right have the option to look at your comments. At the same time, if you're somebody who does not have access to a given element, if you see my screen here, how NetWeight shows you, it's all grayed out. It will not let you edit the element, but you can still see the element, and it will still give you the option to comment on that element, so that the editors and approvers know what your feedback is for that particular element.
Okay, so that question's taken care of. There's another one which was directed at us. One was, I already use a recipe management system, so do I need to type in the same information again?
Good question. So not really. So I think the way we operate is pretty simple. You might, like we said, you might have a PIM, PLM, or a recipe management system, that you already have. You have some of your data there. You do not have to retype all of that information. We have the ability for you to import data from systems like Isha. So it's quite simple. These integrations work seamlessly. You just pick out the recipe, you just click OK, and the same information comes right in to the screen that you see here. You also have the ability to go ahead and still make edits to that particular text after it comes in. So the answer is no. You do not have to worry about retyping all of the text again. At the same time, there are different ways in which you can essentially go ahead and create and review your copy sheets. One of the ways that you just saw here is by importing content from a PIM or a PLM system. There are two other ways which I'll talk about as we go through this webinar. But the answer is no. You don't have to do any rework. We have nice simple integrations built in to most of the PIM PLM systems out there in the world.
Thanks. And also a following question, do I have to create a nutritional panel every time I create a new copy sheet?
Again, the answer is no. You do not have to create a nutritional panel every single time. So what we've done is we've taken, based on where our customers are and based on where the demand is, we have certain nutrition panel tables already built into the system. So you don't have to create a table every single time you create a new copy sheet. All you have to do is fill in your information there. We have, all the panels that the US uses that are approved by FDA inbuilt and populated. We have most of the panels that are used by EU. So you can already use some of our templates. But if you have a nutrition facts panel, which is slightly different, which is out of the templates that we have, we'll be happy to set up those templates for you. And you just have to enter the values. You don't have to worry about creating the whole panel.
Thanks, Avi. There's also another question that came our way last time was, he asked, a lot of my content remains the same across SKUs. So is there a way to reuse content?
Absolutely, yes, you can. So this is the another example that I would like to take you through. So if you see here, there is a Facebook link that you would want to put up on your packaging artwork. So, and you're not sure whether it's the right one, or you already know that, hey, I've used a Facebook link in one of my previous artworks. Let me just go grab it. So you have the option to go back and pick a URL from a different SKU or something that's already been used and kept on the system. Now, you'll also see on the right here that there is a small button that says reused. This will also help you identify which copy elements have been reused from different artworks before. So imagine a scenario where there is some change to one of your communication addresses, or tomorrow you don't have this Facebook handle anymore and you've got to put in a new handle, and you're thinking, wait a minute, I don't remember how many artworks had that particular URL. So that's when our where used functionality comes in handy, and we can tell you that, hey, if you want to edit this particular element, about 15 different artworks get impacted, and you've got to go change it in all of these different places. So that's how the whole reuse thing works. So you can, and this is, I think, another area where so I've told you that there are 3 ways to create new copy sheets. This is a second way where you can create a copy sheet where, if you already have an existing copy sheet. So for example, you have this frosted yellow cake with cream filling. Let's just say this is a 10-ounce pack. Now you want to create a 20-ounce pack. So you can just reuse all of the copy elements from this particular copy sheet and only change the ones that matter. For example, your net weight or your nutrition panel, because the description, the brand name, the address and the warnings, all of that still remains the same, right? So it helps you very easily create a new copy sheet rather than working from the scratch.
All right. This one's from an international seller. He asks that, I sell in multiple countries. Do I have to create a different copy sheet for each language? Will my translators will they be outside the system, basically?
Good question. So yes, I think translations is a very key element in how we do things. So if you look at it, you don't have to keep your translators outside the system. All the translations can be managed within the system. Usually there are 2 ways in which translations work, both inline and normal translations. So just a quick example for you here is when you create a new copy sheet, you have the ability to pick up where this particular artwork is going to go. Is it on the label? Is it on the tray? Which language is the base language? What's the primary? What's the secondary language? So you can select. In this case, we have English as the primary language, and French, Canadian French as the secondary language. You have the option to decide which element or which copy element needs translation in the first place, and then does this translation work in an inline fashion, or is it done differently? So you can even see that. So on my screen, if you look at it, the allergen statement is a normal translation. So when it comes to your translator, you don't have to worry, oh, what, will my translator be confused with this whole thing? No. He'll have a very simple view that says translation inbox, and he'll be able to see just the screen which tells him that, hey, this is the text that you need to translate. Here is an instruction. Just put in your translation, submit, and you're done. So it becomes very easy for your translator to kind of give his inputs on the system. At the same time, for an inline translation that you see here, which means it'll appear as a single block on your packaging artwork. So you can also manage this here. So you'll have alkali, alkalis, It's just both languages are there next to each other. They appear as a single block on the system. So the answer is pretty simple. Your translations can be managed in the system. You can throw in as many languages as you want. You do not have to create multiple copy sheets per each translation. So frosted yellow cake sold across 15 different markets for a 10-ounce pack can just have one copy sheet and all of the translations within. You can even decide which elements go to the translator and which elements do not.
Okay. And there's the last question here. One of our prospective clients asked, all of my products fall under 4 distinct categories and I have a small team. So can I just create simple templates for them to use?
Absolutely, yes. So I told you that there are 3 ways to create a new copy sheet, and this is the 3rd way. So that's to create a template. So for example, all you make is say cakes and cupcakes and some icing. So it's pretty simple for your cake product line. Whatever typical elements come, you can already create a template with all of these elements. You can decide who the editor is going to be, who the approver is going to be, and then save this whole template. So when you go back and create a new copy sheet, you can just say create a new copy sheet from a template. And if you just go into copy elements, everything that you've saved in the template automatically populates right here on the screen. All you have to do, so the template is populated, you just have to make sure that, hey, you've got the right editor, right approver, and the dates are all set, and just go ahead and create the new copy sheet. So it's really easy to do so. The other 2 ways are something that we just spoke about. One is from other copy sheets. This is where the whole reuse comes into the picture. And the last one is from a completely blank template where you create something right from the scratch. So when you're creating a template from the scratch as well, you have, let me just click here and show you this. There is an option for you to add elements from what's called an copy element master. So you actually can have 50 different copy elements that are already pre-populated in the master, and that you can select when you create a new copy sheet. So it's really easy. The system supports reuse, and it makes it absolutely easy for you to go and create your new copy sheets and manage them.
Thanks, Avi. We've also got new questions from our existing participants, but let's address them after the presentation. So
absolutely. So
yeah.
I just have a couple of more slides. In the interest of time, I'll just go and quickly present a quick case study as we promised. Give me 1 second here. So we had this really large global CPG company with more than 60 plus brands selling in about 180 countries, who wanted to try our copy manager. One of the reasons was because it was very hard for them to manage everything using Excel, the same problems that we spoke about earlier. They didn't know what the right approved copy is. Copy consistency was a mess. They were handling multiple languages, like you just saw, right? They were selling all over the world. So it was hugely complex to understand where the right content is, and it was absolutely time consuming. So very simple, using our copy management system. Now they build and approve all of their copy in our system for every region around the world. Each copy element, like you just saw, is version controlled. It goes through workflows, so everybody knows if a certain element is approved or not. We have the ability to export your content into an Excel file or a GS1 compliant XML that your pre-press agency can then use and put it onto the artwork. But using also another tool that we provided them with is an option for them to compare their pack copy against their actual artwork file as well. So they'll be able to see what the differences are. So that makes their approval that much more easier. And I think it's way more powerful than your traditional artwork proofing tools. And I think just a quick slide that I wanted to run through is, no matter where your content is, PIM, PLM systems, existing artwork, briefs that are spread across syndicators like One World, Sync, Syndigo, etc. We can take all of that we can populate the system with copy. Then you can compare your copy against your artwork. You can create new artworks. You can export the files as Excel or XML. You can give it to your designers. You can give it to your pre-press companies. We can even push the GS1 compliant your packaging content to the syndicators again, so that they all populate accurately across your e-com platforms. In addition, we do support, obviously, not just the product, but we do implementation and rollout seamlessly. We provide 24/7 end user admin support and training. We will migrate all of your artworks into the system. And by the way, our system is available free for you to try to see if this really fits your business. At the same time, when you try and begin using the system, we'll make sure that all of your existing data from every artwork that you have is populated into the system, so that you're not beginning with a zero. You've got all of your content populated for you. And like I mentioned earlier, we have integrations with ERP, PLM, PIM systems around the world. So any integration that you can think of, we can handle that.
Thanks, Avinash. Let's just quickly proceed to the questions. We'll just take a few of these that have appeared on our chats at the moment. One of our viewers want to ask if they can also manage their logos and symbols along with the text.
Absolutely. Yes, you can manage your logos and symbols. We are now creating an option where you have almost like a library where you can upload all of your logos, symbols, and then you can link up to the different artworks or different copy sheets with which they belong. This is coming up in our next release. So yes, not just text, but logos and symbols and everything else, your guidelines, your specifications, you can put together all of that and make it a really seamless process.
Thanks. There's also another question. Our viewer is from Italy, and he's asking if English has to be the primary language for managing his artwork copy.
Absolutely not. I think the demo was in English, just given the convenience, but your base language could be French, Italian, anything at all. So you can have a base language, you can have a primary language, you can have multiple secondary languages. It does not matter. Our product as such, we offer in more than 20 languages. By the way, we also offer spell check that works in more than 20 languages and supports custom dictionaries. So language is not a problem at all.
Perfect. There's also a very interesting question from another gentleman here. He's asking, let's say that there are 5 multiple warning statements and 5 marketing copies. So can he put them in 5 elements, or can he put them in one element altogether?
You can do both, quite honestly. I think the way it happens is, let's just say there are multiple warnings or, multiple marketing copies. If you want to make sure that there are different approvers that look at each different marketing copy, then you can have them as different elements. But if you say that, hey, there's just one person from my marketing team that approves all of my marketing copy, then you can just have it as one element. You do not need multiple elements at all. So it's really up to you on how you want to do it, but both options are available for you.
Right. There's also another viewer who's asking if he can add his own copy element names.
Absolutely. So you can add your own copy element names. I showed you towards the very end on how you create a copy sheet, from scratch, from a blank template, and then how you pick up copy elements. So we have what's called a copy element master, where you can add any copy element that you have. And the system, by the way, is not just limited to packaging artworks alone. You have your brochures that you use for marketing, your collaterals that you use, your e-com pack shots, anything, essentially any collateral that has any kind of brief can be managed using our system. So there is no limitation that, hey, there is only these 10 or 15 elements that you can use. You can have any number of copy elements, and the flexibility is up to you to name those elements the way you would like.
Thanks, Avinash. Last question here. So one of the viewers has visited our website, and he's actually interested in knowing about the AI plugin and how that works with copy.
Absolutely. So yes, we have an AI plugin, and I think this is a conversation for a one-on-one chat. We can show you how it works. But every copy element that's approved, all your content using our AI plugin, without copy pasting text in, you can seamlessly move it, from your copy system onto your artwork using the plugin. Also, with every copy management subscription, we do give access to the AI plugin for free for at least one license to begin with. So I think if you're interested to know how it works out, just reach out to us, and we'll be happy to show you how it works and also give you access to the same.
Yeah, there's also one more question about if we are offering any free trial by any chance.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we have the system available for you to try for free. We usually provide, a 3-week free trial to the entire system. So whatever you've seen here that I've showed you, there's no discounting on features. Everything that's available is there for you to use. You can create your own copy sheets. In fact, if you give us a few files, we'll be happy to populate a copy sheet and show you how it works for you. We can show, how it looks like when you export it into an Excel or a Word document. We can even show you how the comparison between the copy elements and your artwork works. So all of that stuff is absolutely available for you to try absolutely for free. So you can reach out to us, you can reach out to sales, you can reach out to me, and we'll be happy to set something up for you.
And yeah, that's about it. So thanks a lot, Avinash, for taking out your valuable time and coming up and sharing your insights on this webinar. We really appreciate it. But in the interest of time, we have to end it here. If you wanted to catch this webinar again, you can go ahead and tune in again on 30th of September. You will also have access to the recorded sessions of this webinar very soon. We'll email it to you. Please feel free to share it to your colleagues, your network. We'd really appreciate it. And that's about it. Thanks again, Avinash. Any last words?
Nothing from me, and thank you so much for hosting this, Shobna. We'll also provide a recording of this webinar to all of you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to set up a system. We believe that copy management is a game changer in the industry right now. I don't think there is anybody else with a solution like this. We'll be happy to show you how it could work exactly for you, and we can't wait for you to try it.
Thanks a lot. And we are also getting a lot of comments on our chat thanking us. So thank you again. Thank you for attending this webinar, and we'll see you soon. Hope to talk to you soon. So have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, Avinash.
Thank you, Shobna.
Bye.
Thank you one and all for joining. Bye.